cousins come to me and sit in my office and tell me what my dad did to them. And what I am grateful for is that he gives us the armor that we need in order to be able to be a comforter, because he's our comforter. And I want to make sure I preface this because there may be someone here, and I don't want it to sound like that life has just always been great. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that he prepares us and he purges us for what he's called us to. And that is what he has done for me. And I believe that, so I don't have a lot of tears. I think that I have more sorrow. I have more empathy and more pain when I hear the stories. But in regards to just a trigger for me personally, because I feel he's filled me and built me for what he's called me to.
You are such a remarkable person. It's hard to imagine someone going through this trial and still having such a positive attitude about it. So, when you ended that 6-month therapy with Dr. Riggio, did you go into other counseling?
Yeah, I'm still in counseling.
Okay.
I don't think counseling ever stops, it evolves. I think that we get to a place in our lives that we need counseling not for that thing, but some other thing. Because we always need counseling. I mean, as an advocate and a person who mentor people or even speak to people, thank you. I always feel that we need to be in a space where we receiving help for ourselves. Because I need counseling right now. Like, I mean, I'm going through dealing with my dad and dealing with the loss of my dad, and even though he was my perpetrator, but at the end of the day, he was my daddy.
Right.
And I still got to deal with that earthly feeling of that I lost my father. So I think that counseling is evolving. It's not a one-stop moment. It's something that you will always find different spaces in your life that you will need to do, and you will need to find yourself in. And so I'm always in counseling, and I advocate it for anyone who think it's just for that one thing. Now, I may not go for sexual abuse, but I may go for, just whatever I got going on.
And then, how did you find Dr. Riggio? Because she's a special kind of counselor that deals with special things. And then how did you go from her to find another counselor to guide you along by the way?
So Dr. Riggio is not a real person, not the real name, right? But it's now just sassy, and she's real. If you read the book, she had it all together, and she's a sister, her stilettos and all of that. But what I did is I don't think there's no clear pathway to looking for counselors. I think we find counseling, and she was the first person that I went to. It was just a normal person that created a space to speak to. Outside of, now, in real life, Sister Davis is a licensed counselor. She's a counselor. So even in that space of being mentored in counseled in that space, as well as going to another counselor, and then even right now being referred to a counselor that I'm currently seeing. So I think that we don't necessarily, we get references of counselors, but we are always looking for counseling, and if not, we need to make sure we have good references. But so.
And that's when to know to go on to somebody if that one's not doing for you.
Yeah.
Because I had a friend who lost his wife and he went into counseling, and the first counseling said she just wasn't it for me. But it's like any other ailment. You go find someone else to take care of it. So let me ask you, why did you feel necessary to protect your mother in this process? You didn't let her know until you were an adult. So why did you feel that need to protect her?
I think I think that's a good question because I'm a palatable writer. That means I'm always thinking of the other person when I'm writing. I'm very conscientious of that. And for my mom, to her avail, she was a victim herself. Like, she didn't know what was going on. That wasn't anything she knew. So I didn't want it to come off because I've heard all kinds of stories. I've heard parents not believing their children, and that wasn't my case. My mom believed me, but I do believe that for her, I didn't want it to seem as if she allowed that to happen, because that was not the case.
think it was just the space that we were in that created that for her, because she didn't allow it. So even if you've read the book or any of my writing or listened to me, I've always been very, I'm a guarded person naturally, but I'm always, I try to be palatable, because I do believe everybody deserves respect. No matter what the situation is, everyone deserves respect.
I don't know if I've asked this, but just in case I think of it, and you don't mind hearing it again, audience. Your father, when you started taking care of before that, how did you decide to let your children have a relationship with your father? And were you frightened that he may approach them as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that question has come up a lot since I wrote this book. I think it goes back to how God gave it to me, is that I had to decide to forgive without the but. Because I could forgive him, but still have issues about this space. Now, I think wisdom comes in. Wisdom and forgiveness are two different things. So I forgave him, but I also had boundaries and limitations that could not foster temptation. Because with certain spirits, they may lie dormant, but they may not always be gone. So that don't mean that I said, oh, but I forgave my dad, and he had the right to know his grandchildren. And I believe that. Some may disagree. I have a sister and brother right now that they have my dad never met their children. So as I'm putting together his obituary right now, I don't know how to list that, because he never knew his 6 grandchildren out of the 8 that he had. So I think it depends on, all I pray is the Lord just don't harden my heart to a place that I can't forgive and it can't permeate. That's what I pray. That's what I hope for me. Yeah.
So after you became quite busy, raising your children, working on different jobs, I think for a couple of attorneys, you got 5 degrees, you're just busy doing all that work. So were these all camouflages to help you cope, to get through this?
Yeah, I think busy work is always it helped us shift our thought process.
But 5 degrees, that's not the
that was all God's grace. That was all God's grace, and I don't even know if I can do that today. I don't even know how I did that. I don't even know. And one of the things, again, my mentor told me is that God gives you a measure of grace in every season that you're in. And so I have taken that literally. I don't know if I can get that same grace today, but he did. And I think that allowed me to do a lot of self-reflection and reflective moments in my life while I was doing something that he wanted me to do. Because I wouldn't, regardless of that, if God didn't ordain that for my path, I wouldn't have done it anyway. So I believe that whatever he surmounted me to complete, it was for his glory and not mine.
You read my script, look what I wrote on that page.
Where did the grace come from? It was from God. It was all God. It was him and his measure of grace. I don't, and anyone know me, I like to walk in a room very unassuming. I really don't like crowds. I really don't. I really don't. However, God has to pull us out of places that we have to be in and do what he's called us to do. And I humbly try to do that. I try to speak and do what he has called me to do.
How did you deal with why me? Why did this happen to me?
That's a valid question. I think that starts with every FUC. That's why me and why something happens. I think that when I got to the place of why me, because actually that book started off was why me. That book had probably about 100 titles before it got to see it beyond the shadow glass. It started out the why me, but why not me? Because God chose me for such a thing to be able to use me because I said yes. And that was it. And I think that even in that, in my hurt and my pain and my tears, a lot of tears, and I felt like at this point, and I got to speak to where I am today, is that the why me came is that he knew he could trust me and that I would be a voice to be able to help someone else. I believe that was, as I look back over the life of what I've treaded, is that he felt like he would trust me and when I said yes to him.
You read my script. was the turning point in your life where you recognized you were stronger and more capable than you once thought you were? What was that turning point?
Honestly, I don't know if I feel today that I'm stronger. You know, I really don't. I feel like every day is a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new journey. It's that I felt like He again has given me the grace in every season. I felt like I have tenacity. I feel like He's the wind beneath my wings. I feel like He's pushing me in spaces. I would have never became Dr. Keitra. That wasn't my journey. That wasn't what I planned to do. I didn't plan to do that. But I believe that God has just been with me all these years and all this time, and with me today, sitting here, to just give me what I said yes to a long time ago. And that is just going where He wants me to go, saying what He wants me to say, and helping who I can help through my story. And I feel like we all have a story. We just got to be able to share our story.
So what would you tell another survivor how to address this, if they're the beginning stages of coping with this, and they feel hopeless? What advice would you give to somebody who may be in our audience or may have a friend? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that everything begins what we hope. Jeremiah 29:11 was one of my scriptures that became very real to me. I believe it's finding a space of a trusted individual, finding a space where you can speak to someone about it. I advocate counseling, but I do also understand counseling may not be your direct go-to. I believe it starts with someone that you can speak to. And because once you speak to someone about what has happened to you, at that point is when they can begin to help you heal, to even go into counseling and allow it to be a space for you, that's why I believe the family place is very important. Because when you have places where people can go that has been hurt, then they have a space that now I feel that I can get counseling, which also goes back to Life After Advocacy Group, is creating a space where you can talk about what happened to you. Because counseling may not always be the first step in, because you still deal with a lot of resistance.
Now God put certain people in your life at a certain time, and share this angel Jack that came into your life. Into her life.
Into her life. Okay. So
It is, well, I'm back to the first time, and I speak of real life scenarios. I'm married. This is my second marriage, and I was married before, which was a good guy, just wasn't good for me. Because I wasn't right. You know, and I take that. I wasn't healed 100%. I wasn't even in a space where I could even accept that. So in that, I had to go through that 3 years of marriage, divorce, which was very hard, being a single parent for a long time. And then, but one of the things that God helped me through that time is that I was able to see me. So I had to begin to heal me so that I could be healed for someone. And being healed for someone means that sometimes you just gotta be alone, ladies. You just gotta be alone, and it's okay. And I know that, well, how long we gonna be alone? But sometimes you got to be alone so you can see yourself. Because two halves don't make a whole. Two wholes make a whole. So if you go in thinking that He's going to validate you, He's going to heal you, He's going to do those things, then that's not true. And I love my husband, but I didn't need validation, because I feel like when I met him, I was already whole. He just came in to complete me. He was who God has called me to be. That is when now I can be in full bloom. Now I can have a protector. Now I can have someone covering me. Now I can have that. But He's covering a whole person and not a half person.
Okay, speaking of your husband, Pastor King, how did he relate to your husband, knowing everything that had transpired? What was his relationship like? Did he have forgiveness in his heart for your dad?
Yeah. And to know him, he's very laid back. I don't know if y'all noticed that about him. He's very laid back. He's very unassuming pastor of 30 years. But what I would say is that he had a relationship with my dad. He would say to me things like, I can't believe someone would do something like that. And I think that's a fair question. especially when you coming from a space that's not wasn't part of your life. But I don't like to speak for him, but I guess what I could say is that he probably would say something like, if your life can reflect a space of forgiveness, then I'm okay with that. That's what I could hear him say.
So, okay, well, let's talk about your program that you started. It's in the back of your book here. Your organization that you started about 22 years ago, Life After Advocacy Group.
Life After Advocacy Group was an extension of helping other people, helping other women, men, children who have experienced sexual abuse in their life, and sexual assault, now domestic violence, because what I can appreciate it is all up under one umbrella, because it used to be kind of separate. So now we have it all together, and that was my hope, and which is still my hope today. I think I've taken several different shifts, and the shift now is being a voice in the word and being in a space